My husband refused to post photos with me on social media. When I asked why, he said I was overreacting. But then I found out what he was hiding. Hello, Reddit. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to post here, but I need to get this off my chest. My name is Emma, I'm 29, and I've been married to my husband, Jake, for almost 2 years. We dated for 3 years before tying the knot, and for the most part, I thought we had a solid relationship. He's 32, works in marketing, and is one of those people who can make friends anywhere. I always admired how effortlessly social he was, how he could strike up conversations with anyone and leave them laughing. But lately, I've noticed something that I can't ignore anymore, something that makes me feel like I don't even exist in his world. Jake refuses to post photos of me on his social media. At first, I didn't care. I've never been obsessed with Instagram or Facebook, and I certainly wasn't the type to demand couple selfies every other day. But over time, I started noticing that while I was completely absent from his posts, other people weren't. His coworkers, his gym buddies, even our dog made frequent appearances on his profile. But me? His wife? It was like I didn't exist. At first, I tried to push the thought away. Not everyone is big on sharing their personal life online, and maybe he just didn't see social media the same way I did. But the more I paid attention, the harder it became to ignore. Jake wasn't just avoiding posting about me, he was actively making sure I didn't appear in any part of his online presence. I started testing little things. When we went out to dinner, I'd take a cute picture of us together and casually suggest, "Oh, this one's nice. Want me to send it to you?" He'd glance at it, nod, and say, "Yeah, sure," but then never post it. On vacations, I noticed he'd only upload solo pictures of himself or landscapes, never the ones of us together. Even when we attended weddings or family gatherings, he'd post group shots, but always made sure I wasn't in them. It was strange, but I told myself I was reading too much into it. Maybe he just wasn't a relationship posting kind of guy. Maybe it didn't mean anything. But then I realized something that made my stomach drop. He had never posted a single photo from our wedding. Our wedding day was perfect. Small, intimate, and full of love. I remember how he held my hands, looked me in the eyes, and told me he'd never been more certain of anything in his life. We had beautiful professional photos taken, and I excitedly shared a few on my Instagram, thinking he'd do the same. But he never did. At first, I didn't think much of it. Some people just aren't sentimental about that kind of thing. But then, a few months later, he posted a long, heartfelt caption about how much he loved his job, complete with a picture of himself giving a presentation at work. It was detailed, emotional, and clearly something he wanted people to see. I scrolled through his feed again, more carefully this time. He had posts celebrating his friends' birthdays, random gym updates, even pictures of his new sneakers, but in over 5 years together, there wasn't a single trace of me. Not one. I couldn't shake the feeling anymore. I had to ask him. One night, while we were watching TV, I tried to bring it up casually. "Hey, have you ever noticed you don't really post anything about me?" I asked, forcing a light tone. He barely looked up. "What do you mean?" "I mean, like, you post about work, your friends, even your morning coffee. But not once have you posted a picture of me. Not even from our wedding." He sighed and put his phone down. "Emma, come on. You know I don't really care about social media like that." I stared at him. "But you do care. You post all the time." "I'm not asking for a couples page or anything, but doesn't it seem weird that I'm not in a single post?" He ran a hand through his hair, already looking annoyed. "I just don't see why it matters. It's not like I love you any less because I don't post about you. That should have been enough." I wanted it to be enough. But something about the way he dismissed it so quickly made my skin crawl. Still, I didn't push further that night. I told myself I was being insecure, that I was making a big deal out of nothing. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. And I was about to find out just how much Jake was hiding from me. For a while, I tried to let it go. I told myself that if Jake didn't want to post about me, it didn't change the fact that we were married. Social media wasn't real life, and maybe I was being one of those people, obsessed with appearances, looking for problems where there weren't any. But no matter how much I tried to rationalize it, the feeling in my gut wouldn't go away. Because it wasn't just about the lack of posts, it was about the way he avoided it. The way he got defensive when I brought it up. The way he acted like I was crazy for even noticing. And most of all, the way he made sure I was invisible online. I started watching more closely. Not in a paranoid, obsessive way, at least. That's what I told myself, but just paying attention. And what I noticed made my stomach turn. Whenever we went out, he'd take pictures of his food, the restaurant, the skyline, everything except me. If we were at an event together, he'd post photos with his friends, his coworkers, even acquaintances he barely knew. But if I was in a picture, he'd conveniently not upload that one. It was so deliberate. So calculated. And then there was the tagging. Jake was tagged in plenty of posts at bars, at work functions, at parties I didn't even know he attended. But if I ever tagged him in something, he wouldn't share it. Wouldn't acknowledge it. It would just sit there unshared, as if he hadn't seen it. But I knew he had, because he was always on his phone. He'd like other people's posts, comment on memes, even reply to random acquaintances, but he would never engage with anything I posted about us. One night, curiosity got the better of me. I clicked on his profile and scrolled through his tagged photos. I wanted to see if maybe there was something I'd missed. Maybe there was a post of us somewhere that I hadn't noticed. But the moment I looked, my heart stopped. I wasn't tagged in anything. Not a single post. Not even the ones I knew for a fact I had tagged him in. I quickly grabbed my phone and went to my own Instagram. I scrolled through my posts, pictures of us on vacations, date nights, our anniversary dinner. And sure enough, every single time I had tagged Jake, his name was missing. He had removed himself from all of them. I felt sick. There was no way this was just an oversight. It wasn't about being private or not caring about social media. This was intentional. He wasn't just avoiding posting me. He was actively making sure there was no trace of me on his profile at all. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. I decided to confront him again. This time, I wasn't going to let him brush me off. That night, while he was scrolling on his phone, I sat down next to him. "Jake," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Why did you remove yourself from all my posts?" He glanced at me, confused. "What?" I checked. "Every time I've tagged you in something, your name is gone. You untagged yourself." "Why?" He exhaled sharply and put his phone down. "Emma, seriously? You're checking my tags now. That's not an answer." He ran a hand over his face. "I just don't want my personal life all over social media. You know that." "Except it is," I shot back. "Your real personal life, just not me." He groaned, already looking frustrated. "Emma, I don't know what you want me to say. I just don't like the attention." "The attention?" I laughed, even though nothing about this was funny. "Jake, you post about everything. Your job, your friends, your gym routine. But when it comes to me, you suddenly don't like attention." His jaw tightened. "You're making this a bigger deal than it is." "Am I?" My voice cracked a little, but I didn't care. "Because it feels like you're hiding me. And I don't understand why." He shook his head, looking at me like I was the one being unreasonable. "I'm not hiding you. I'm just not the kind of guy who needs to post about his relationship all the time." "Not all the time," I said quietly. "Just, at all." Neither of us spoke for a moment. I could feel my chest tightening, like all the air had been sucked out of the room. Finally, I said, "Do people even know you're married?" Jake's eyes snapped to mine. "What?" "Your coworkers. Your gym friends. The people you go out with. Do they know about me?" His expression darkened. "Of course they do. What kind of question is that?" "A fair one," I said, my voice shaking. "Because I'm starting to feel like I don't exist in your life." Jake stood up, running a hand through his hair. "I can't believe this is even a conversation. Emma, I married you. We live together. What else do you need?" I wanted to scream. Because yes, he married me. But what did that mean if he was actively making sure no one saw it? "I don't need a public declaration," I said. "I need to understand why you're going out of your way to pretend I don't exist." Jake shook his head again, muttering something under his breath. Then, without another word, he grabbed his phone and walked out of the room. I sat there for a long time, staring at the empty space he had left. I had walked into that conversation hoping for reassurance, for an explanation that would make sense. Instead, I felt worse than ever. Because Jake hadn't just avoided answering me, he had run from the conversation completely. And if there was nothing to hide, why would he do that? I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship in my head. I thought about all the little things I had ignored over the years, the way he'd always brush off conversations about our future, how he kept his phone close to him at all times, the fact that I had never met some of the people he talked about the most. I had spent so long convincing myself that everything was fine. But now I wasn't so sure. Something was wrong. And I was finally ready to find out what it was. I couldn't let it go. Not this time. Jake's reaction wasn't just defensive, it was evasive. He didn't reassure me, didn't try to comfort me, didn't even offer a real explanation. He just walked away, like the conversation itself was the problem, not the fact that he had been deliberately hiding me from his life. I knew I needed answers. The next morning, I decided to do something I had never done before. I went through his social media from a different account. I had never snooped on Jake before, never felt the need to. But after last night, I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling in my gut anymore. I created a blank Instagram profile, followed his account, and scrolled through his posts again. Everything looked the same: pictures of him at the gym, his work events, nights out with friends. But then I went to his followers list. And that's when I noticed something strange. Almost none of his coworkers followed me back. Not the people he talked about every day, not the ones he went to happy hours with, not even the ones who commented under all his posts. These were people I had met in person, people I had been introduced to as his wife. But when I clicked on their profiles, I realized something chilling. They had no idea I existed. I wasn't in their tagged photos. I wasn't in their comments. When I scrolled through their pictures of nights out with Jake, there were no signs of me anywhere. Even in places where I knew I had been with him, there were only pictures of him. Alone or with others, but never with me. My hands were shaking. I quickly went to his Facebook, another platform he used frequently. His relationship status wasn't listed. His profile had no wedding pictures, no anniversary posts, nothing. It wasn't just that he didn't post me, he had erased me entirely. I felt like I was going to be sick. I had one last thought, one final thing I needed to check. And as much as I didn't want to, I forced myself to do it. I searched his name on TikTok. Jake didn't have a public account, but I knew some of his coworkers did. And sure enough, I found videos, clips of them at the bar, inside jokes from work, even random moments from office events. And there he was, laughing, dancing, clinking glasses. And then I saw it. A video from 2 weeks ago. The caption read, "Best work fam ever, red heart," and showed Jake and a group of coworkers at a bar. And right there, sitting way too close to him, was a woman I had never seen before. Her hand rested lightly on his knee. He was leaning in, smiling at her. The comments were full of teasing. "You guys would make such a cute couple." Jake finally found his work wife eyes. "Just date already." And the worst part? Jake had liked every single comment. I felt numb. This wasn't just about social media. This wasn't about privacy. This was about the fact that my husband had built an entirely separate life, one where I didn't exist. I don't even remember closing the app. My mind was racing, my heart pounding so hard I could barely breathe. But one thing was crystal clear. I wasn't going to let this go. I deserved the truth. And this time, I was going to get it.